Hi, my name is Sofia Correa, and the topic of the day is parasite burden and severity of malaria in children that are in Tanzania. We're going to start with the definition. So, malaria is a mosquito borne infectious disease of humans and other animals caused by a parasitic protozoan of the genus Plasmodium. It is transmitted by a bite from an infected female mosquito, which is the Anopheles mosquito. Here's a video about malaria.
Malaria is an infection with one-celled protozoans called Plasmodia. Plasmodia spend some stages of their lives in female Anopheles mosquitoes and some stages in people. A female mosquito sucks in Plasmodia when she takes blood from a person infected with malaria. In her intestine, male and female forms of Plasmodia combine into zygotes. Zygotes burrow into cells in her intestine and form tiny cysts. Within each tiny cyst, the zygote divides many times. Eventually, the tiny cyst bursts, and Plasmodia migrate to the mosquito's salivary glands. She can now inject Plasmodia into a new victim. In people, Plasmodia first travel rapidly through the bloodstream to the liver. They invade liver cells and again divide. The liver cells eventually burst, releasing thousands of Plasmodia back into the bloodstream. The parasites next invade red blood cells, where they divide again. They release more Plasmodia, which in turn infect more red blood cells. Each time the red blood cells rupture, the person suffers an attack of chills and fever. Some of the Plasmodia eventually develop into male and female forms, ready to infect another mosquito and continue this.
So, continuing with applications in medicine, the symptoms of malaria. They have a variety of symptoms, but they usually are like flu-like symptoms, which includes headache, fever, shivering, joint pain, vomiting, and other symptoms. The classic symptom of malaria is the paroxysm, which is a cyclical occurrence of sudden coldness, followed by a shivering and then fever and sweating.
I fell ill with malaria whilst on a rural village camp in northern Ghana. Whilst coming back from the rural village placement where I was teaching to local students, I noticed that I was quite dehydrated. I had stomach problems, and whilst I thought this was just tiredness and dehydration, I was advised to go to the hospital to get checked out. Whilst I was in the taxi to the hospital, my situation deteriorated quite rapidly. I started having triple vision, going in and out of consciousness. When I arrived at the hospital, I was treated immediately for malaria. They found out I had malaria falciparum, which is one of the most severe types of malaria, and I was treated with antimalarials and morphine to stem the pain.
So these are recommendations.
When I went to my GP, he told me about 3 different sorts of antimalarial tablets. The first was Malaria, which is the most expensive type. The second was
Antimalarial medicines such as Malarone, doxycycline,
reactions to the sun that can make your skin sensitive. And the third one was Larian. And the downside
and
of
last one
Larian
is
was that
Valerian.
it would give you some sort of nightmares and experience sleep. I wish someone had actually told me.
So now, during the course of the infection, during the disease, you can have several complications, which include the development of respiratory distress. The possible causes of respiratory distress may include respiratory compensation of metabolic acidosis, non-cardiogenic pulmonary edema, and concomitant pneumonia. If the infection continues and if it's not treated, it might turn into cerebral malaria. So here's a video of a kid having a convulsion and also having cerebral malaria. So what I found was the people from the New England Journal they did a study, and the method they follow was to document Plasmodium falciparum infections and diseases in Tanzanian children, followed from birth for an average of 2 years and for as long as 4 years. The results: out of the 882 children in their study, 102 had severe malaria, but only 3 had more than 2 episodes. Incidence of severe malaria decreased considerably after infancy. So these people concluded that the resistance to severe malaria was not acquired after 1 or 2 mild infections. Although the parasite burden was higher on average during episodes of severe malaria, a high parasite burden was often insufficient to cause severe malaria. What are the pros of malaria? You can have severe clues that indicate you that you have malaria. Those are recent traveling history, enlarged spleen, fever, low number of platelets in the blood, and also there are different ways to prevent it. There are also a lot of campaigns that tell you to prevent malaria, such as using repellents and the water and stuff like that. If properly treated, people with malaria can usually expect a complete recovery, so that's good. Here's a campaign to prevent malaria.
But where? Who? First class dining for all mosquito. Future of mosquito kind. Our future. Our plan. We infect and conquer. Infect, conquer. I like infecting. Oh yes. We bite humans, infect them with malaria, and take over the world. Billions will die. The rest will be sick over and over and over.
Would humans defend themselves?
No. Some of them don't even know mosquitoes cause malaria. We won't tell them, so it will be a surprise. Or do you think we should tell them? I guess that's a no. All right, for the mosquito chant. What do we do? Fight humans. Why do we do it? Infect humans with malaria.
There is a power of mosquitoes power to infect you. Be aware, mosquitoes cause malaria.
So that's a campaign against malaria. Very interesting. So continuing with the consequences or the adverse things about malaria is that the medications are rapidly developing drug resistance. If it's not treated rapidly, it can cause death in several hours. And in intense malaria, there's a 20% mortality rate even with high or intense treatment. A related disease. This is anemia, which is caused by the decrease of red blood cells, and the symptoms vary, and they're very vague, and they go from feeling tired to having weakness, shortness of breath, and poor ability to exercise. In the treatment, some vitamins will replace the specific deficiencies, but here's a little bit more about anemia.
I'm Stacy Tisdale for Houdini. If you feel tired all of the time, it may be more than staying up too late and working too hard. You could be suffering from anemia, a condition that is especially common among women. Mary Bolster is editor-in-chief of Natural Health magazine. Mary, welcome.
Thank you, Stacy. It's really nice to be here.
So many of us just feel like this all the time. What is anemia?
Well, anemia is pretty pure and simple. It's an iron deficiency in the blood.
And what are some of the symptoms?
Well, you mentioned the most important one, which is fatigue. And it's usually a fatigue that happens when you're getting enough sleep. So it's not staying up late and working long hours. It's getting a lot of sleep and still feeling fatigued. Another thing is stress, kind of having an abnormal reaction to stressful situations where your stress levels feel really high. Pale, your skin gets pale because there's not enough blood, not enough oxygen in your blood, so that makes your skin pale. Being really unfocused, so feeling very scattered. And then another thing, which doesn't happen in every case, and it's kind of odd, but it's a craving to chew.
A lot of us feel like this all of the time. How can we go about finding out if it's anemia?
Well, the fatigue is really the biggest part of it, and sometimes the fatigue becomes so extreme that you feel weak and you feel faint, and that's really when.
So those are the basics of anemia. I hope you liked the video. Thank you.